Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am Joby, the Natural Gearhead. You can see I got the Duramax up on the lift in this episode. That's because the steering components a little bit worn out, and we got to address it in this episode. Stay tuned. We got the Duramax up on the lift, like I said, and we're going to be changing out some steering components. This truck I've owned for almost 20 years. I put on 142,000 miles, I think. I've had it since brand new. It's a 6-speed manual truck. But now the pitman arm, idler arm, they've got some movement in there, so we're going to go in and address that. But since I'm in there anyway, I'm going to do inner outer tie rods. I'm going to do the idler arm, the pitman arm. Also, the steering stabilizer shock in there, I'm going to replace that. I don't have that part with me, but we do have some parts right over here. I'll show you what we're looking at and what I got to throw in this thing. Let's check them out right over here on the table. We got a bunch of components and parts in here. I went with Moog. You get on the internet, you hear mixed things everywhere. What you should use, what you shouldn't use. I've had really good luck with Moog stuff in the past, and these are actual Moog components. You can get some off-brand stuff, so you don't want to do that. But I've always had good luck with these kind of components from Moog, so that's what I'm going with. This is the bracket for the idler arm. They call it a bracket, but I'm not real sure why they call it a bracket, but it bolts into a bracket, and then your idler arm goes on there, so we'll replace that. I recommend doing that if you change the idler arm. Let's see what we got here. It's a bushing kit. We've got inner outer tie rods. We've got everything in here, a lot of parts. Oh, this is for the sway bar. So I'm also changing the sway bar end links. These are not Moog. These are actually AC Delco. The bushings for the sway bar end links on mine, these are, starting to dry rot. Like I said, they're about 20 years old. This is a 05. We're in 2024, guys. It went by fast, but here we are. I remember buying this truck brand new not too long ago. Boom. Almost 20 years later. So let's get the skid plate off this thing and just start tearing into this and see what we got. Hopefully it comes apart and it's not too much trouble. We'll see what happens. That's never the case. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this skid plate out of the way, and 4 15mm bolts. I'm going to use my impact, and there is right here in the center a little plastic plug. You're going to push that up. That's your lower radiator hose. Goes up underneath it, and it just kind of secures right here. So let me speed you up, and I'm going to get this off real fast. Now we got that off. Let me show you up in here real quick. I'm just going to take it off right here, and this side right here, and take the idler bracket off, and get this pitman arm off here, and then pull the whole thing down in one assembly. And then what I'll do is put it on the bench, and I'll measure this to the other one and install it, and hopefully my alignment will be close. You're going to need to get it aligned when you're done with this job, if this is what you're doing, because this is your adjustment for your alignment, your toe in, toe out. And you can measure it close at home, but I would take it somewhere and get it checked. Anyway, so the sway bar, which is right here, I'm going to take these end links off. There's a bolt head here and a nut up here, or vice versa. I'm not sure. One way or the other. As a bolt goes through here, I'll unbolt it, take that off. Take these 2 bolts off here, 2 bolts off here. Take this end link out. Take this whole sway bar out of the way. And that way you can access this better and this pitman arm. So this pitman arm, you can see there's not much room here to be able to, you can't get a puller in there. Some guys take the steering box off here, take the bolts out and move that out of the way and all that to get that pressed off. What I'm going to do is come in hopefully with a cutoff wheel and cut this, and hopefully just hit it with a little air chisel, and I'm hoping that'll just fall down and I won't have to take any of that stuff off. And I don't want to cut into the steering box or cut into the shaft with the threads on it going into the steering box either. So do it at your own risk. I am. And also the stabilizer shock in there for the steering stabilizer. Let me see if I can get you an angle on there. Oh, get you up in here. You can see it, possibly. I don't know. I think you can see it. Hold on, let me move this around. All right, so there it is right there. So that's gonna have to come off too, but you can see it's all rusted and it's probably wore out. I don't know, the bushings are. I got a new one of those coming from Rancho and I'll get that installed. But for now, I'll get all this off, hopefully get it replaced, and this can be done after the fact, no big deal. So before you go in and start taking stuff loose, give her a little spritz of something. A little bit of PB Blaster, maybe some Aero Coil, maybe some WD-40, maybe just a little bit of oil. Anything you got to lubricate the threads. The threads that you can see on the nut side, just hose those down. That way when you take it apart, that can penetrate in there. When you take it apart, that nut will come off nice and easy, hopefully, and you don't have no problems. So I'm gonna continue on taking more stuff off, so stand by. I'll go ahead and take this skid plate off also, just for some easier access, and you'll be able to see better if I need the video up in there. So I'll just, 1, 2, 3, 4, take these 4 bolts off. They are 15 millimeter. Yank that off, and then you'll be able to access all this stuff. I got the skid plate out of the way, get the sway bar off and out of the way. So these bolts here are going to be 10 millimeter. Gonna have 2 on each, 2 here and 2 over on this side, and then we're gonna get those end links taken off, and they screw in at the top and the bolt head is at the bottom, so you're gonna take it off at the bolt head side, and that is a 14 millimeter. So let's get that yanked off there and continue on. On these, getting these apart, you can see, I mean, there's not a regular nut on there. It is a bit, got some hexagon shape to it, I guess. I tried, I'm thinking it's 31 millimeter. Most everything on this is gonna be metric. I don't have a 31. I got a 30, I got a 32. I ain't got 31. So all I did was a pair of vice grips, jam it on there, squeeze it nice and tight, lock it on. Come in from the head side, which is on the bottom of that end link on your sway bar. Clamp that on. Now moving on to the next thing. I don't know how much you can see in the time lapse there, but we did get the bracket for the idler arm bracket off. The idler arm is still connected. I'm hoping that this will just slide and just leave that all connected and come out, and we'll get that off on the bench. The nut for the pitman arm is off. We haven't started on this yet. I'm gonna try to cut through there. The stabilizer shock, it is disconnected at this end here, right here, because this end did not want to come out. So it's just going to come out with the center link and everything else. Now we got the outer tie rod off over here, got the outer tie rod off over here, and basically everything is off and loose except for this guy. Okay, so again, I'm going to cut through this and try to get that to drop down and take all this out in one piece. So let me get a cut-off wheel, come in, cut. I'm going to probably cut in pretty far, not all the way, and then come in with a rivet gun and a chisel, and I'll stick it in that crack that I'm about to create as I cut in there in that groove, and just let that thing eat, and hopefully it'll crack the rest of it and let this slide down. We can pull this all out, get it over there on the bench, and start taking the rest of it apart. So cross my fingers. Whew. All right, guys, that pitman arm, it sucked. I ain't gonna lie. So came in with the 90-degree whiz wheel slash death wheel slash die grinder, whatever you want to call it. So there it is right there. That's what I used. Cut through it pretty quick. And I had my rivet gun and a couple different chisels on the end. I thought one cut was going to get it. Maybe I didn't cut deep enough. I don't know. Just take your time. If you do this, I have no response. None of this is my responsibility what you do, okay? Whatever you do is on you, okay? I did it. It's successful. I didn't mess anything up, and I'll show you here in a second. But just go slow, a little bit at a time, little bit at times. You do not want to get in and mess up your steering box. So if you look, and when I pull it out, I can show you better, but you can see we cut 2 grooves because the one groove just wasn't enough. So I cut another groove, just a relief cut, and I'll show you on the bench that we didn't cut all the way through. Went in, kind of opened it, loosened it up, and then you see we didn't get into the splines. You do not want to cut in and get into these splines or into these threads or into your steering box. Then we came in from the top with that chisel right here and right here and just blop and walked it right off there. So let's get this thing all out of here, down on the bench, and I'll show you a little bit better. All right, let's get it up on the bench. Get grease all over my bench. So this is what we did. We took it off in the basically one piece. Took off the outer tie rods here and here. We got hooked this steering stabilizer still hooked up here. We are going to replace that later, like I told you. We got our idler arm bracket still hooked up, so she's on there, and the pitman arm still on there. So you can see this thing's like really, I don't know if you can see that in the camera. Both of these just move real super easy and loose, so they need change. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna flip them over, and we're gonna get the nuts off here and here, knock those off the steering link, and then probably start doing our measurements for our inner outer tie rods and everything. And then I'll just leave, let's see here, I'll make sure you can see it. Turn you around. Sorry. Good? Perfect. So what we're gonna do, nope, not good. Now you're good? Maybe. Move it down. All right. I don't know, I can't see what you're seeing. All right, so we're gonna take the measurement. I'm gonna take this off right here. This will unscrew, hopefully. And then we'll take the new one, kind of assemble it, measure it, put it all back exactly the same, run it in, tighten her up here, do the other side. That should get us close on that. We'll install all this. I'll probably just install it just like this, exactly the same you see here on the table, on here, and then after that, we'll go ahead and jam it back in there. All right, here we go. We got it all taken apart. You see we got the pitman arm off and the idler arm pushed out. Now what I use for that, I used a rivet gun. This is not an air hammer, this is an actual rivet gun. So this rivet gun hits a lot harder than like an air chisel or an air hammer. But you can use maybe a brass hammer, something like that, or a sledgehammer if you have to, if you're not going to reuse any of this stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to, so it doesn't matter. So I just took this with a flat end, a flat set, went around the end of that bolt, and just walked it right out. So came right out with that. Probably if I beat on it with this, it'd probably come out also. The inner tie rod, it screws into your center link. So that's how that guy comes out, just threads right out. It's a regular thread. Now, I don't know what size this is, because the biggest wrench I have in a metric is 32 millimeter, and it doesn't fit. So maybe 34 millimeter, I don't know. But I do have some big crescent wrenches. This is a 15-inch crescent wrench. Took this, stuck it on there, took my brass hammer, gave it a few. And you can see I do that a lot with this guy because she's pretty beat up. But I'll tell you what, that's Pittsburgh. You know it's quality right there. So, and this is Pittsburgh too. So, all quality tools here in the Naturalgearhead Garage. Natural Gearhead Garage. Yeah, I like it. All right. So those are all off. So next thing I'm gonna do is get the new parts and stick them with this one and get them exactly the same length. I'll lock it all in. And again, this is gonna get me close. I could check it with a tape measure and whatnot if I want to, but you're gonna wanna go get your alignment checked after this because it's gonna need it. It's probably gonna need it. And getting it checked, I believe most places, if you just have it checked and they don't have to adjust anything, I think it's free. I'm not 100% sure. But if they have to adjust stuff, that's when it starts getting into some money, right? So it is what it is. Well, we got everything back up in there. I know we were in time lapse most of the time, but you didn't want to see me cussing and putting that in there. But we got her in, is what I'm saying. So I'm super happy with the fit. The Moog parts fit really good. You seen I did a little different going back in. I put basically everything together. We measured the inner and outer tie rods, the lengths. Got that dialed in, put those on the table. Put the idler arm and idler arm bracket together on the table, but the pitman arm I came over and put it on here first. I put it on the steering box first, then put the whole assembly up in there. Got the idler arm bracket in place, ran them 2 bolts in. Got the outer tie rods kind of in position, and then put the center link there and put it up right into the pitman arm. Got the nut started, got our stabilizer, our steering stabilizer shock in, and then tightened everything up. And then lastly, I put the outer tie rods and back in the holes and hooked them up. And they actually went right in. So everything should be pretty lined up. I'll measure it with a tape measure and see where I'm at. But like I said, it's best to go get it aligned when you're done with this. Next thing I'm gonna do is spritz it with some grease. Just get the grease gun and kind of hit all these fittings while I'm open here. Then I'm gonna put the sway bar back in, put a little bit of grease where these bushings go around that sway bar. And I looked at the bushings. It turns out, even though the measurement in the description said they're this diameter, they're not. Can you believe it? They're not that size. So I'm gonna use those stock ones I said was in good shape, and I'm glad they're in good shape because we need them. Getting tired. It's 1,000,000 degrees in the shop. The sun has went down, but it is still, even though the sun's down, it's still like 83 degrees in here. But it was 105 earlier, so that's better. All right, moving on. In the bracket box, you're gonna see a line that looks like this, and you're gonna be like, hey, oh, Now why they give us that line right there? What we need that for? I didn't have that when I took it out. Well, let me tell you what it's for. If you would like, take your grease fitting out of the top of this bracket, because this thing's a bit of a pain when your skid plates and all that are on. And then there's a little adapter in here, right there. You can take your grease fitting out of there, take this adapter, screw that in place of your grease fitting, your little Zerk. And then this end of the hose will screw into this, and then you'll have the hose, and you'll see it has a little bracket here and a Zerk fitting on the end. So that way you can have like a remote grease, right? You can have that all hooked up and then come down here and mount it somewhere, whatever, so that you can reach this without jamming your arm up in there. So nice little touch, but I don't need it. Haven't needed it yet. I ain't putting it on. So moving on. Well, we got the sway bar in, and let me tell you, whoo, it was tough because I thought it was going to be easy. And when you think something's going to be no problem, that's when you have problems. Got one thread on, started it, tightened her up a little with the wrench, and then we ran them down. So once you start running them down with the, I mean, it's not like it's like the whole way. You just run it down with the impact or one of these, and it goes on nice. Those bushings compress. So once that was on, I went ahead and moved on to the getting these bushings all tightened up. And like I said, I put a little bit of grease on the inside of those just to help them, you know, when this is kind of flexing and moving a little bit, I can in there. So that's good. So everything else is on tight and greased. What do I have next? Man, I'm tired. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm pretty beat. I think what I'm going to do, I'll leave this skid plates off for tonight. Come out tomorrow fresh. And I want to measure the tires to see what my toe's looking like, to see if that's close. And I think that'll be it. Put skid plates back on. Take it for a test drive. So, but maybe I'm missing something. I don't know, because my brain is fried. I've been cooking in here all day. Well, not all day. I can't say that. Hours. Okay, because I took some breaks. We went out, did some stuff in the yard, and I came in, worked a little bit, and then we went out and went for a bike ride as a family, and I came in a little bit because it was like I said, it was 105 in here earlier, and then it went down to 100 and then 90 something, and so it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's still 80 in here, so I'm just gassed. I'll see you in the morning. We'll reconvene then. All right, next day, back out to the shop. Let's see what our temp's looking like here. Oh, okay, perfect. It is 100 degrees in here. Turn this exhaust fan on. Florida. If it ain't the animals, it's the heat that'll kill you. But, hey, here's what it is. I'm here now. So, got the truck lowered. I'm gonna raise that back up in the air. I lowered it overnight just so I didn't want to leave it up in the air all night. We're gonna check the alignment, get our tape measure out. I'll check the toe in, see if that's still close enough. And then if that's all good, I'm gonna do a once over because I was really tired last night. Just make sure everything's tight and dialed in. Put the skid plates back on, take it for a road test, see how that goes. So let's get right into it. And sweat. Yeah, definitely sweat. All right, so we're making do here. I was measuring off the tread, but you can see the tread pattern has all these different size deals. Like a regular radial summer tire, all season tire will have like grooves, right? So you can just measure from the center one to the center one and get a good measurement. These are all different sizes, and I was measuring from the ones that looked the same on both sides, and I was like, man, it seems towed out a lot, like almost an inch. So I got to come up with something to get a better measurement here, because it should be towed in like maybe 1/8 of an inch more in the front towed in than it is in the back. Your measurement should be right just a little bit towed in. So I was trying to figure something out to get a better measurement, so I came up with this. You see this? This is from my pool, okay? So this is a for skimming the pool out. It's adjustable. So what I'm doing here is putting it between the wheel and the front. I'll extend it, tighten it, measure it, go to the back in the same spot, but in the back, extend it, tighten it, measure it, and see where we're at, and get a pretty accurate reading with this. I didn't have anything else that telescopes this big, so that I could find offhand, so this is what I came up with. It's a little bit of redneck engineering, but I tell you what, it'll work. And then I'll compare it to my tread measurement and see how close we were, because I feel like it's like I said, like 1 inch towed out. That's bad. Results are in. Turns out the measurement of about 1 inch tow out, the lie detector test determines that was not a lie. Going off the tread pattern and using my handy dandy redneck tool off the actual wheel itself, on the inside of the wheel in the same spot, front and rear, we're about 15/16 of an inch towed out. Not good. So after you do your adjustment, you're gonna have to roll this back and forth. I can't really roll this truck because it'll fall off the lift either way, so I have to back it out, back it in. You're supposed to go, I think, like 10 feet each way to set your suspension, because normally you're gonna lift this in the air, it's gonna kind of hang. You do your adjustments so it can turn, set it down, settle the suspension. I'm gonna put cardboard underneath the tires so that they can turn a little bit when you're rotating these, and then roll it back and forth, because your tires are gonna wanna kind of sit in a spot. So when you measure, if you just adjust and measure, you're not gonna have an accurate measurement. So I'll roll it back, put the cardboard under here so they can kind of move a little bit, like, you know, rotation plates, I guess you would say, with the cardboard, because it's gonna slide around. And then I'll drive it back, bring it in, check it, drive it back, bring it in, check it. You wanna do an even adjustment on each side to try to keep your steering wheel straight. If you get your measurement in and your steering wheel is crooked, then it's a pretty easy fix. You basically just move them the same direction, and your wheel won't move, but your tires will move together. Kind of makes sense? Makes sense in my head. Well, now where you been? You were sitting in the air conditioning, weren't you? You missed a lot of stuff going on. But we got her dialed in. And it's also up to 105 degrees in here with an exhaust fan, 2 big fans running. I have to shut some of the fans off to video, or else it's too loud in here, so it's getting hotter by the second. Anywho, we got this thing dialed in. We're at 1/8 of an inch toe in now. To set your steering wheel, if you're interested in how to do that, if your steering wheel is sitting to your right, you definitely don't want to adjust your tie rods, like turn this one 2 turns or whatever and just drive it, right? You want to do them equally. So if your steering wheel is to the right, you need the steering wheel to go to the left, right, to be straight. So in theory, you're towed in like this. When you're driving down the road, it wants to keep the wheel straight. But as you're straight, your wheel's to the right. So you need that truck to basically turn left to bring your wheel back, right? So what you want to do is you're sitting like this. Think about it, your tires like this, right? This is straight, going this way. If you, let's just straighten them out, make it easier. How about that? So they're sitting like this, and you're going straight down the road. But you need to turn left. So if you turn your wheels to the right, so you turn this wheel in and this wheel out just a little bit. I did a quarter turn at a time. You want to go slow with this stuff, guys, but the same amount on each side. So turn this one in, turn this one out. What's going to happen? When you go to drive, the truck's going to naturally push them straight again, turning your wheel to the left. Okay? Same the other way. If your wheel's this way, you go like this, and then when you drive, the wheels are going to want to go straight, so go straighten up your wheel. Okay? So once your toe is all set and your steering wheel is going down the road nice and straight, you're dialed in. Like I said, you're going to want to go to an alignment shop, get it checked out, just to verify everything. But if your alignment was good before, hey, that's up to you. It's your tires, it's your money. It's going to be a long story. So we're going to move on, throw the skid plates on, get this thing on the ground, wrap it up. Anyway, I was going to go over these parts that I use and part numbers in case you're looking for the part numbers for these. I get asked that kind of stuff all the time. What was the part number? Once I throw the box away, I ain't got it. I got to go look up an order and everything else, but we'll go over them real quick. If you want the sway bar end links that I use by AC Delco, that's a GM part number 194-60386, and it is AC Delco part number 46 Golf 0012 Alpha. Okay, that's the sway bar end links. Now we'll go to the arms. That's the idler arm. Kilo 6535, and again, it's a Moog. And they make great stuff. They always do really well. The fitment was really good on this stuff, and quality parts. So this is the idler arm bracket. It's Kilo 6723. This is also a Moog, obviously. This is the pitman arm, is Kilo 6654. These are your outer tie rods, and your outer tie rods are the same on both. Echo Sierra 3609, Moog part number. Another Moog, obviously. Inner tie rod, Echo Sierra 3488. And both inner tie rods are the same also. So that gets you that. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you liking, subscribing, sharing, doing all the things. Channel is growing. And we're going to keep the videos coming. I'm hoping to get that. I got a lot of the turbo stuff set up for the turbo build here in the future because the hot rod stuff's what I like doing. It's just to keep the channel going. I'm always doing something. And on one of the vehicles, we got too many vehicles. But I'm always looking for more. If you got a C10, 73 to 87, two-wheel drive, standard cab, shortbread, I'm just saying, let me know. Shoot me a message. I might be interested. Have a good one. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Up on the lift, like I said, we're going to change out some steering component things, steering component items. Oh boy.